Well, this is our C-16 Aristocraft. We had little problems with it, so we're going to take it apart and kind of work on it a little bit and see what we can do with it. It was originally a Delton, and when we got it, so we got ourselves a used Aristocraft drive, and now it's starting to get sloppy. So we went and tore it apart, and what I'm going to do is kind of show you what we did with it, and maybe this will help it with yours. So anyway, let's start off with the drive that we replaced. It's a good drive. It's just that the idea is it's just real kind of sloppy and it's real noisy with the gears. It's almost got rough kind of gears in it. If I had my way, I'd probably change it and put some some other gears that's got more teeth in it than what this one has. Something with maybe 60-some teeth would be a lot smoother. Anyway, this is showing how we took it apart. There's a screw on each side, and you can see where the screwdriver's at now. You got to take those two screws out first. And what we're trying to do is get the block out, because we're going to take that block apart. The block is in two pieces. It's like two halves. And as you pull it apart, you get this out, and then you go ahead and you got to pull the piston blocks off, or I'll call it piston block, but anyway, you got to pull the screw off of there. This one here has been tore apart before because it's got an oversized screw in it, I see. But anyway, you got to take that off. You got to take the little handrails off of the front by the cow catcher. You got to take that off, and you very carefully lift that end up. And when you lift it up, you can see how this is where it's at. Is one piece. But we're going to show back here where we lift it up. You can see the handrails right there that we pulled off, and we put them forward. And we left everything else together, and we put it on a little pillow. I guess you call it a book pillow. Fits on your lap, and that's what we're using. But anyway, as you lift the end of it up, the cow catcher end, you got to make sure you pull these tabs out real carefully so you don't snap them off. That's what holds the back end in. It slides back in underneath that little bar. And remember, this is plastic, so you have to be very careful with it. By pulling this out, and you slide it forward a little bit, just kind of slide it back and forth, you know, kind of sideways back and forth to get it to come out. And here's another shot at it. You can see all our wires on there, so what we're going to do, we're going to just pull this apart, but we're not going to take it completely apart. We're not going to take all the plugs loose. We have a Sierra sound, and we have all kinds of things that goes back up to the engine, back to the tender. Here's the block that we pulled out. And what we're going to do, we're going to pull half of it off. So what we're going to do is pull one set of wheels off. That's it. Leave the other side on. That'll keep you quartered, so you don't get yourself out of time, and especially with your warm drive. And here's the other side of it. This is the side that we pulled off. We pulled the motor off and everything. You can see the driver still on. So we pulled it apart, and the motor came off with the other section. But anyway, this shows where we pulled it off. We left the drivers on the one side, and you can see everything else came with it on the other side. There's a plug on it onto the motor, back to the chassis. It goes back up, and you have to unplug that when you pull it apart. Here's the other half of it, and you can see the worn drive shaft that goes through in the motor. Kind of see, look at the gears. They're kind of rough, crude-looking gears. Like I said, if I had my way, I'd change the doggone gears on the thing to more teeth to it and be a lot smoother drive. Our problem is you can see that shaft back and forth here. It's got so much play in it, it's bucking going up and down our grades. It's not really that smooth, and it doesn't bind, but it just bucks. So we've got to put some washers in there. Besides, while we got it apart, we'll go ahead and lube it up and everything. Check out the shaft, make sure there's nothing bent on it, make sure it runs smooth. So the best thing to do is hold it down with your fingers and just power it up and just see how smooth it runs. Without any motor, or without any, or not with the motor, but not without any drives on it. So anyway, here's the other half. We pulled this off very carefully, and if you look at the other side of it and pull this off, you'll see it's got the quartering on it. And when you pull this off, make sure you pull off the valve gears. You pull it real carefully, because it will come off as one piece. Here's the other side of it. You can see how it's quartered. We don't care. We just know it's going to go back the same way, so we left it all together with the side rods. Makes it a lot easier to put it back together. If it was any kind of other engine, I'd take it all apart, but this was a simple way of doing it. Here's where we put it back together again. After we've cleaned it all up, we put ourselves some little washer shims on the end of the shafts. Got rid of the play. We checked the gears on it too. We didn't show that, but we checked the gears on it. We take a little file, just hit the tops of them just a little bit on each side. Get rid of that square gear and it'll make it a lot smoother. Here we are, we're putting it back together again. Make sure you snap that piece back in. It's very hard to kind of operate, but it will go back in real slowly. Remember, it's plastic, so you can break it. But anyway, you tilt it back in. And then after you get it tilted back in, you got to watch the doggone wires for the motor and stuff, because the plastic will just chop that wires right in two. We've done it already. You can see where I had to patch it. So make sure those wires get in there real easy, and then keep pushing a little pressure on it, and so you don't cut those wires. They all got to be tucked in, and it'll fit very snug. Now you can see the plug. That's the plug for the motor there. And as you pull it in there, then you go just like we took it apart. We're putting it back together. Put the screw back in together. Put your pistons back on together. Put all your valve gears back in. It takes a little time to put it all back, but just take your time with it. It'll all fit back in. When you're putting that back, the wheels back on, I forgot to tell you, make sure you quarter it back 1/4 different than the other side is. That way it kind of has a shuffling sound. Makes it look a lot better. The wheels that we had on the back on the side there, we can't see it, but we had 4 magnets on the other side, and that's our quartering. And you can see we put the screws back in it. We also did a little animation to it, so what we want to do is put some animation with the engineer kind of waving and pulling the bell. So this is kind of a video of it showing it. And this, if you look real close, you can see the engineer waving his hand. And that's what we want to do. We want that little waving good deal. So we're going to kind of show you what we did with it as much as we can. We made another video of it, how we put it together, but if you can just kind of picture a paper clip on the end of where the engineer's at, that's what comes up with a rod, goes up like a paper clip, and it just slides back and forth in his arm. Here it is, it's sitting on the tracks, all put back together again. So anyway, here's the cab, and this is where the engine got his arm up, and on the next little part you'll see the arm down. And it was easier to show it this way, but if underneath there, you can kind of see it a little bit underneath there. You see where we cut into it? I don't know if it's not really showing very good there, but I think the next one will show it. This is the rod going up into it. It slides back and forth, just a piece of wire, piece of brass wire, inside some tubing. And we just glued it on in place there. And here's another piece of it. You can see the wire comes back down, and on the end of that wire is what hooks onto the side rod. If you look back up here where it slides up in there, if you remember, it's like a paper clip on the other side, and it just slides back and forth. This is going to kind of, this kind of shows the same thing there. Anyway, this slides back and forth, but you got to put a piece of tubing on the end of it, on each end, so it can keep that wire straight. Here we got the wire with a pair of needle nose, and then you have to make a little bend on the end of it. It doesn't show it here, the picture doesn't show the end of it. But that goes back up into the little piston rod, and just slides back up in that slide bar. And that's what makes them lay back and forth. There's no pressure on it, nothing. It's just, it's flexible. You can actually grab the engineer's hand and it won't go. Anyway, you look at it by the piston, you can see where that rod goes down in there. It's kind of hard to see, but you can see it goes over. This kind of tells you what we put into it. We also added a Sierra sound card to it with 4 shaft magnets. By getting a different shaft to it, you can take one magnet and drop it down on the wheel just a little bit lower, then it's clear to the end, and that'll give you a different sound. Also, we put LED lighting in it with a lantern on the back with an LED. We also tied the tender trucks in with the engine trucks, so this way it makes it a little bit over the frogs. Anyway, this is really nice and smooth now, and this kind of shows you how it's working. And we're just going to start up here with the Sierra sound, and just let you kind of hear a little bit of what it's doing. It also has a grease gun, and it has a guess you call it, guys called Fred. He's shoveling the coal right now. And he just slammed the door on it. Here it is going in it's coming out of one of the engine houses or storage houses. And this is going to show, I'm going to shut up now and let you just hear it come. But watch the engine here and watch the bell. Guys swinging the bell back and forth. It's kind of hard to see, but it's really kind of animated. Sure helped by putting those washers in. It sure runs smooth.